Hello and welcome to the program. It's a beautiful Saturday evening. I don't know. I haven't been outside and I don't know where you live, so maybe it's not good out there either. My name is Ethan, and you are watching Stinky Platinums, a weekly video game news recap show, and also an excuse for me to delve into my addiction of very easy PlayStation trophies and the Platinums that you get for $3. A few things we'll talk about this week. None of them I think are super big news, except for our main topic here. But yeah, we have a bunch of actual streams on the channel planned throughout the month. A few of them you can actually see already literally scheduled on the channel. So check them out if you'd like. Today, as of this recording and streaming, Devin and I continued our Pokemon Nuzlocke run on my Fire Red ROM hack that I am literally working on as we're continuing through the series. Interesting stream. We had I guess I had what's the word? Misconception on the order of events in the game. And we had a very, very, very tough battle ahead of us. We took on this fight against a trainer, and I will not spoil it, so take a look, but it is certainly, and has been, and will be, the hardest battle that we've had yet. It was very interesting indeed. Stream did end in a rather dour note as Devin's internet went out, and we just had to, stop. But one thing that we did do at the beginning was open up some card packs in Pokemon TCG Pocket. This is our first news story, so we might as well get into it while I pick our first little jumping game to play through. Here on Stinky Platinums, we play through two Stinky Platinums. Basically, these are PlayStation games. There's Xbox, Nintendo, and Steam equivalents, by the way. Games that they might be a decently fine, amateurish attempt at an indie game, but they might be slop. Like absolute shovelware slop. We're going to be playing a shovelware slop game first, and then picking a game off a list that I seemingly might have deleted by accident. I can't find it. Of other games. We'll just pull randomly from the actual tiles themselves. Why don't we hop in? I don't freaking know. The Jumping Muffin. There we go. I have, 15 of these left? That's 15 weeks. However, I did notice on my wish list, because I have the rest of the jumping games for PlayStation 5 on there, 17 on there still. And right now there's a sale where they're like $1 cheaper. It can wait, though. We can wait till our list is almost empty first before we do. And there's other shovelware types of stuff as well. I don't want that one. We'll do the Jumping Muffin. Sure, why not? Yeah, so we opened up our Pokemon stream today by me opening up 20 packs in the jumping, or I called it the Jumping Muffin, in Pokemon TCG Pocket. It is that new collectible card game, trading card game, because trading will be a feature in the future, hopefully soon, for the Pokemon company there. I've been enjoying it a lot. You get a free pack every 12 hours. There's a subscription, which they give you 2 weeks for free, where you get an extra pack a day. So that's 3 packs a day in total that are free. But then they also just give you all these currencies and rewards to allow you to just get more. There's also this cool function in there where you can see all your friends. You can see recent packs opened by your friends and strangers, and then you can basically use a different currency, which you automatically are regenerating, to randomly get a copy of one of those 5 cards. You might see Devin opened up this pack and it has Gyarados and Charizard, and I don't have either of those 2 cards in there, and so okay, I'll try to get a random copy. Oh yeah, I got the Charizard, that type of stuff. Very neat. The battles are very simple. It's a simpler version of the card game, which I appreciate because the card game didn't really seem that interesting to me personally. I understand it was developed a long time ago and was kind of just a yeah, sure, whatever thing, and they've kind of gotten stuck with some of those mechanics ever since then. This being a video game allows them to change that up a lot. They simplify it in a way that's very fun. Apparently, I'm not the only one that's enjoying the game because over 30 million people, or at least 30 million devices, have downloaded the game. Um, this is at a faster rate than Pokemon Go did for its first 30 million, let's say. It took Pokemon Go a couple weeks longer than TCG Pocket did, which is crazy. But when I think about it, for the most part, I think the casual Pokemon Go fan kind of just likes collecting the monsters. That's kind of what I was at. I wasn't into like the battles all that much or anything like that, and I would definitely didn't want to like go to other countries just for the sake of getting rare Pokemon. And the cards, I mean, it's kind of doing that, but in a way that's more approachable and honestly a little bit more exciting. It's cool to open up a pack and just see a rainbow bordered variant of an Articuno. Spoilers, that happened today's stream. I already had one though, which really made me mad because that was the only rainbow border variant of a card I had. Now I have two of the same thing. When the trading opens up, I told Devin I'll trade it to him. Yeah, 30 million people, or 30 million devices, I guess to be more specific, have downloaded the game. It has made a boatload of money, 3 times that of what Pokemon Go makes in a similar period on today's average, to be fair. So it is taking the world by storm, and it is a game that, if you are weak-willed, will soak money out of you. So you really, really, really have to be vigilant. Like, yeah, but people got to remember, we all complained about loot boxes way back in the day. Trading card packs are literally the proto loot box, and they have been legal and perfectly fine and acceptable forever. This app does disclose the percentage chance for every single card, so you do know going in, okay, this is my shot at getting the card I want. Realistically, it's 0.222% from this booster pack. Realistically, it's not going to happen. It's actually kind of funny too to see that the drop rates, so to speak, the pack rates are visible, and obviously that's because of certain countries like China are like, no, you need to do this, because it kind of combats that playground rumor mill type of like, well, if you do this, or if you're going it this way, or if you do this little thing, then that guarantees a rare card. People are convinced that, because when we showed it on the Pokemon stream, you open up a single pack and there's a carousel, a 3D carousel of all these booster packs, and you get to like rotate through them all, spinning the whole thing, and you select one, right? And you can flip them around if you want to like not have the cards like art shown to you right away if you want to see the backs, and then you flip them over one by one as a bit of reveal. So you can open up the boosters in reverse is what I'm saying, and all this stuff. And because these are 3D modeled things, there's some variance to them, and people have been convinced on that subreddit for the game that if the top like edge of the booster pack is crumpled in any sort of fashion, guaranteed shiny card right there, that's a rare. That is not the case at all, and it can't be the case, because if the rates for change for how rare certain cards would be, if there's a change in that, it would have to be disclosed, and there isn't, because that's not the case. But still, it is very fun to open up stuff. I have gotten almost all of the cards already, and this first booster expansion called Genetic Apex lasts until, I don't know if it's lasting until January for when the next pack is, or next set is coming out, next expansion's coming out, or if there will be an overlap period. I'm not entirely sure. The language on it is a little bit vague, because you open up a pack and you automatically get 5 of these little points that you get enough of them you can spend to get a very specific card. So like, man, I just need Kangaskhan. He costs 150 points. I got 150 points now. I will just get Kangaskhan now. I get to pick him out. And there's no like, not like it's a worse version or anything like that. Like, it is just that card. Obviously, the super rare ones cost, like 1,000 points, but still, it is possible to do all of that. So, the game is cool. I am worried though, because this is it's a very easy trap for susceptible people to fall into, be like, yeah, whatever, it's just $20. Like, I put $20 into the game for the sake of the Pokemon stream, and that felt like, man, like, I could buy a video game with that. I could get, like, McDonald's with that. You know, like, there's a lot of, I could do this instead type stuff, and for just this ephemeral feeling of, like, ooh, yes, like, you know, dopamine hits by seeing the reflective shiny card get revealed to you in that moment, you know. I think a lot of people are going to get kind of not suckered into losing their money, but like convincing themselves that, yeah, it's just okay, it's just $5 more, it's just $10 more. I mean, it's $100. I mean, you're getting quite a bonus of the Pokegold if you buy. So, yeah. Anyway, it's fun, and I'm enjoying it regardless of how much I know I personally am susceptible to that type of stuff. I have a little bit more restraint, hopefully, than the people I'm worried about. Okay, I guess we have the Platinum in this game because I haven't seen a trophy pop up in a while. Let's close it up, and we talk about another Pokemon-adjacent news story. This one involves Palworld. As folks remember, Palworld came out on Xbox Early Access, or maybe they called it Preview? I forget what they called it. But Steam Early Access as well. It is Pokemon with guns. Hold on, you're gonna hear a can open up here. There we go, that's the stuff. It is a Pokemon with guns game, is how people describe it, but in reality, it's more like Ark Survival Evolved, but with the creatures being tameable, catchable, and yes, you have firearms, and so do they, some of them. There was some controversy at the start of that game's launch of like, hey, some of these designs of these creatures, they're Pokemon. Like, they ripped off this design and that design and blah, 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 blah. And that's a trademark dispute that Pokemon Company doesn't seem to actually want to fight. Instead, as we learned earlier this year, they're going after a copyright was the other thing. They are going after a trademark dispute, a patent dispute. There's copyright, trademarks, patents, all these things have a little bit of overlap in kind of the concepts that they protect, and but what they protect, how long they protect it, and to whom they protect it from are all different. This is a patent dispute that Nintendo's going at, which is, if they want to hurt this company, this is the smartest way to do it, unfortunately. I'm not rooting for Pokemon Company. And I think video game patents, in the ways that we're just about to talk about, are nasty. Essentially, Palworld came out with the statement like, yep, so yes, we are responding like publicly, like, yes, we are getting sued by the Pokemon Company, which, as we know, is 1/3 Nintendo, 1/3 Game Freak, 1/3 Creatures Incorporated. So Nintendo is heavily involved in this as well. They're suing them over a patent. The patent basically is when people kind of sussed out early that Nintendo or the Pokemon Company, Nintendo on behalf of the Pokemon Company, it's the weird relationship again, have where essentially it is about using a ball-like device thrown to catch a monster. That is the mechanic that the Pokemon Company has patented on file. And Palworld apparently does this. I didn't actually know this because I haven't played the game, because I looked at them like, this looks ugly and stupid. I do not want the game to go away, and I hope it gets better and more people like it, and maybe it becomes a Genshin Impact where, like, I don't understand how there's so many people that enjoy this shit, but they do, and God bless them. Here's a game for you. Enjoy it. Palworld did come out, Pocket Pair being the company that makes Palworld, did come out and say, like, hey, we're not going free to play. This is a game you buy. Just our whole game is, like, we would have to just destroy everything to make it a free to play thing. And so, like, cool that, like, it became super successful, and they weren't just like, how do we milk this for more money before we get out of Dodge because of Pokemon Company. Like, no, they're doing things a little bit more, I guess, respectfully in that manner. But what the weird thing about this whole thing is the money that Pokemon Company and Nintendo want as damages is weirdly small. Like, it is small enough They want 10 million yen, which 100 yen is supposed to be the equivalent of a dollar. Right now, the yen is very weak, so it's actually a lot less than what would that be, $100,000 or something like that. Um, I mean, this Kotaku article here basically says, oh yeah, it splits out to being under $33,000 between Nintendo, Creatures Inc., and Game Freak, essentially, right? Very strange, very very strange. That is just for that little amount of money, considering how big the company, Nintendo is, and how big the company Pokemon Company is. Again, we just talked about Pokemon TCG Pocket, 30 million downloads on different devices. Like, I forgot what the number of the metric number of how much dollar sales the app had supposedly already made. This is a third party company that kind of looks at some of the data, and this is not exact, and Pokemon Company wouldn't say, we made this much money off of you rubes. They wouldn't say that, but they're not a poor company. 10 million yen isn't much for them in the grand scheme of making this big of a fight. That makes sense, because this starts a wave of a wave and a battle that I don't know if Nintendo wants to get in. They clearly do want to get involved in, but I'm curious about if they plan on going on the offensive more often now, and if you do, this doesn't help anyone. Um, there are patents in the world. I could patent, let's say, a screwdriver that is electric powered, about a battery. I press a button and it's automatically spinning. We would call that like a drill, essentially. That just is a screwdriver drill bit. But I could patent that. Let's say I actually am able to patent that. Cool. That has, I think, 14 years. And then there's another 14 years if you want to renew it. And then that's it. So 28 years. If I remember correctly, for U.S. patent laws, if I remember correctly, that is the case for that. I know for copyright and trademarks, it is insanely longer, because when you're talking about entertainment properties, the Disney Corporation comes out and says, we think Mickey Mouse deserves 10 million decades worth of our protection before anyone else gets their grubby little hands on a black and white cartoon from a century ago. But patents are very specifically like that. Let's say I patent this device. Cool. What that allows me to do is, I have this brilliant invention. In capitalistic society, I should then be able to profit off my brilliant invention. But I shouldn't be allowed to keep it under lock and key from the rest of the world for too long, because, and this is the phrase that I had read years ago when I was looking up this stuff. Now, the phrase is not verbatim, but the idea that, like, in order to improve society, we have to allow inventions and these types of patents to be able to be spread amongst anyone that wants to then legally allow to make the thing and then improve on it and make variants of it and whatnot. Like, that's how you make everything better, by doing that stuff. One could argue the same thing about entertainment properties as well. If let's say Super Mario Brothers became in the public domain, like, that could improve the way we do things, because other people could take it and make their own versions and sell it, and I don't know. But in the very case, patents of physical things lead to one another, right? Now, when we talk about video games, we're not talking about patents of like, like, this gameplay mechanic is similar, and therefore the entire thing is ours, or something like that. There was a lawsuit back in the 90s that Capcom went after for people copying Street Fighter 2. That got thrown out because, like, cool, just because the game is similar and has similar ideas, they are not using your characters, they are not using your music, they are not using your art, they are not literally taking your code, which is protected as well. They're just seeing a thing you did and say, hey, we want to do that too. But there are differences, though, when we talk about patent law. And certain countries have their own thing, and I do not understand or pretend to know how they intermingle. Like, let's say this patent infringement thing only affects Japan. Well, if Palworld didn't sell in Japan, then are they fine? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know all that stuff there, but there used to be a time where there's been patents that are finally gone, but I know there's two examples of which that back in the day where actually we're like, man, why do you have the patent? Why can't this be for everyone? These two are simply Namco, creators of Pac-Man, Galaga, Tekken, Ridge Racer, now merged with Bandai to make Bandai Namco. They had the gameplay in video game gameplay mechanic of being able to have a mini game played while the main game is loading something. You'd see this in Tekken. You'd boot up Tekken on the PlayStation 1, and I think it was Galaga. While the thing is spinning and loading, you could play Galaga. I think Ridge Racer Type 4 also did the same thing. Or maybe I'm having it reversed. Something like that. They had those things, yeah, because guess what? CD discs, they took time to load versus cartridges. We might as well use that time for something. A tiny little flash onto the system memory of Galaga, a couple levels, just whatever the length of time is needed for the load, just to amuse. Like, that seems fine, but because they patented it, no one else got to use it. Now we're at the point now where people, if they see a load time at all, they're like, what the hell? And we live in the day and age where, NAND type SSDs are so cheap that like our game consoles have them in it. 3 seconds should be as long as it takes. Heck, when I see a load that's longer than 3 seconds for a game that's made for one of these systems, I get a little bit, we could do better. Which is crazy because I remember, the time where like, I don't know, you'd be playing Skyrim on the PlayStation 3 and you're talking about load times that are like 3 minutes just to leave your house and enter into Whiterun. I platinumed that game that way. I got impatient. We're going to pick another game here. There was that patent and then also another patent as well, and I don't have an example around, but Nintendo had a non-gameplay mechanic patent, but it was a patent about hardware that I do consider similar in the sense that this does affect other companies in the similar way that like a gameplay patent would, is the D-pad. Their plus-shaped D-pad was patented to them. So in order to make a controller that had a D-pad, a directional button, and you've seen them all before, you had to do something other than a literal plus shape, a connected plus shape. That's why the PlayStation has always had that disconnected shapes there. Technically, that's different. And Xbox has tried so many different ones. I remember the 360's D-pad is terrible. The Xbox One's is okay. And guess what? The new Xbox controllers, they have a plus-shaped D-pad, some of them, because that patent's gone. And now people can. People can just use the plus-shaped D-pad, which is fine. So that's cool. Let's pick a game here. I deleted my list. When I say deleted my list, what I mean is that I somehow saved something else over the list. So I just had garbage text in that text document. That's annoying because I had 100 games in there with notes on all of them of like, hey, I think this game might be 2 stars worth of difficulty in paying attention. So we're going to pick, I don't know, some game here. There was a Crossing the Roads game that I think I'll pick because I know that one's going to be simple. And do I not have it? Oh, did I just have wishlisted or something and did I not buy it? Not this one. There's one about Road Bustle. Road Bustle 2, sorry. We did Road Bustle 1 before I turned Stinky Platinums into a news show. Alright, let's open this up. I don't think I need to do anything in particular, so we don't need to open up the list. So, the Pokemon Company is going to war and suing Palworld's developer Pocket Pair over that gameplay patent of throwing a Pokeball-shaped object at a monster and then catching it in a 3D space and being like, oh yeah. Oh, we get to pick a guy? Be the grandma. Sweet. It's just so epic. Video games are epic. Okay. On to our next story. This is the one I titled the stream after. Death Stranding is finally on the Xbox platform. And Kojima did announce that... nice imagery here. Did announce that Kojima Productions now fully owns the IP of Death Stranding. For folks that might not have known, Death Stranding released on PlayStation 4 in 2019, and that announcement of the game came, I think, just a year after Kojima's previous project, Metal Gear Solid 5, had launched in September 1st of 2015. Wow. So 4 years later, Death Stranding would come out, and that seems like that's shorter amount of time than with Death Stranding 2, to be honest. That game was a little bit confusing when we were getting towards launch of that game of like, how much did Sony own of it? It was a joint ownership. We knew that. But back at the time, I remember over the summer, the box art was shown. You can pre-order it now. Cool, exciting. And then stuff got updated. The box art stayed the same, but there used to be a badge on it that a lot of PS4 games, not a lot of PS4 games, but some PS4 games had at the time that was like, oh yes, this is a PlayStation console exclusive, meaning that, hey, you're only playing this game here. And that went away, and that confused people because, like, well, if this is a PlayStation owns this game, then why would they get rid of it? It was staying on, you know, other upcoming games at the time, like The Last of Us Part 2 and Death Stranding and whatnot. Press triangle to restart. But it went away. Well, it was because part of whatever agreement or negotiations that Kojima Productions had with Sony at the time said that, like, oh yes, Kojima Productions gets to publish the game on PC outside of Sony. So they would with 505 games. 505 had turned themselves around and was like actually like seeking out good games. 505 used to be basically a shovelware type of THQ publisher. Maybe even worse of a reputation than THQ had. And 505, I think more famously around the time of Death Stranding, as well as Control. They published Control by Remedy. We're like, cool, you still own your rights. Like, we're not taking it away, which is very crucial. Sweet. Get to go fast. Another 505 game that they published that I owned was Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night. That was 505, but I don't think they own it. Artplay, I believe, owns it completely. So anyway, ever since the beginning, the Death Stranding IP wasn't a complete PlayStation production thing. They did not own it completely. Although I'm trying to remember. I wonder, does the game have that PlayStation production splash thing open up at the beginning? I don't know. I don't remember. Regardless, though, with Death Stranding 2 on the horizon, that being a PlayStation 5 console exclusive for X amount of time, on the 5th anniversary now of Death Stranding, the original, they announced, yes, we own the IP rights completely to release that game. And it's on Xbox now, so folks can pick it up on Xbox. I think its normal MSRP is $40, and I think it is the director's cut version of it. But for some sort of limited time, you can get it for $20. That's cool. Excited for that. That game, I did a stream on this channel here a month ago. Oh man, was it a month ago? Where I pulled it out of my... Jeez, got ran over by an ambulance. Pulled it out of my backlog. That was a game where it's like, I've picked that game up 4 times and really enjoyed it, and then something came out and I put the game down and was like, oh, I'm good. I'm good with the game. But I will go back and I will, like, continue the game. I will enjoy it. And yes, after that stream, I was like, cool, I'm going to play it longer. And I did for one sitting, and then I think I got Astrobot. I got something. I was like, oh, I'd rather do this now. A new game came out and I played that instead. But as a game, I do intend to finish. And I think it's a unique enough game that I'm glad more people are able to play it. That's that. You know, Death Stranding 2 is going to be next year. Another game that it might have to compete with is GTA 6. Our Take-Two president, Karl Slatoff, I guess had been out there saying, like, yes, the game is still going to be 2025. It's just going to be later in the year, which I personally anticipated. I know there were people being like, oh, man, because the game got, you know, revealed last year at the end of the year. So to hear, oh, 2025, then like your wishful copium is like, well, it'll be like March, right? That was never going to be the case. They're going to drop that right before the holiday season, just like they did with GTA 5. Now, I don't know if GTA 5 got delayed from a date that they had earlier in the year, but still, that game came out in the holiday season, and I remember it was the first time that Call of Duty got usurped in that kind of like fastest selling kind of thing. And I remember that Activision made some clever announcements to try to act like, nope, Call of Duty Ghosts, that was that year's Call of Duty, remember that? Actually did sell faster because they said, oh, it was shipped. It was shipped a larger number than what Take-Two had said than what Take-Two had said GTA 5 sold to consumers. Those two metrics, those two terms, shipped and sold through to consumers, mean two different things. Shipped means GameStop has that many copies to sell to people. Sold to consumers means that many copies are in the hands of people who bought them, right? Every now and then you see a company try to like throw that out there, like, yeah, our thing is just the most selling thing ever. We shipped this many. Like, well, dead. Though nowadays, I think we're getting close, if not have already surpassed 50% games being sold digitally now, on consoles specifically, where you would have that physical market. So I don't know if that matters as much anymore, unfortunately. The lover of physical games, I've accepted that the future is going to be more instances of Baldur's Gate 3 and Alan Wake 2 where the game is digital only, and then a year later gets a collector's physical edition as a like, oh, look how cool this is, but like not a focus at launch. I've come to accept that there are games that, if they're the case, I will just be ending up spending more money on those games because I'm not going to wait to play the game. You know, if I was super interested in Baldur's Gate 3 when it came out, I would have bought it on digitally and just said, yeah, if it ever comes out physical, I will just get it again. All of the Sonic games that we have received on this generation of consoles, I've purchased digitally for the sake of this channel, being able to get it instantly. Amazon has screwed me over in the past with pre-orders not arriving on time. And, you know, then you get a PS4 version as well, and blah, blah, blah. And now I'm like, okay, cool, and I have my Amazon wish list, and I'm checking the prices, like, cool. I picked up Sonic Frontiers physically on PlayStation 5 for $17 off Amazon. And it's the ESRB North American version, thankfully. So I've been screwed by them in the past as well. So cool. I spent $17 more on that game than I was expecting initially, but I'm okay with that, because I like collecting games. And I guess this is just going to be the future, where not every game is going to have a physical copy anymore, fortunately. But yes, GTA 6, I imagine 100% will get a physical copy, by the way. I'm 100% anticipating that. I think it'd be weird for them not to, because this is a game that they want to be a big holiday season, you know, selling pusher. They want people to buy that game as gifts for other people, and we are just not at a point yet where that is a convenient thing for people outside of a game console or platform's ecosystem to do. Right? People aren't being like, oh, I'll just get GTA 6. I'll get them a code for Xbox. They don't know it the same way like that. Like, they'll look up, you know, GTA 6 Xbox. They'll see like the physical thing, and then they know, okay, that's what it is. But anything beyond that, if they're outside the ecosystem, meaning that they don't play games themselves, they don't have a console to know how that would work. I mean, even on the consoles, you can't actually buy games for other people, at least not on PlayStation. I always found that very strange. I like that Steam allows me to buy a game as a gift for a friend, but I need to have a Steam account to do so. You know what I mean? That's a lot different than going into a store and just picking a game off a shelf for people that don't play games. But yes, GTA 6 is 100% going to be released in the holiday season. I always believed that was going to be the case. I think implying that it wasn't was wishful thinking. But I digress. GTA 6, I am excited for. I do not own GTA 5. I did not own it for PlayStation 3, not own it for PlayStation 4, and I did not own it for PlayStation 5. As a collector, I would like to get those cases. I imagine the PS3 cases and 360 cases for GTA 5 are probably Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 levels of cheap. You can go on eBay right now and find PS3 and 360 versions of Call of Duty games for dirt cheap, as long as it's not Call of Duty 3. And Xbox 360 had Call of Duty 2 Red 1? Had a version of Call of Duty 2 on 360. Because that game came out a year earlier than the PlayStation 3 did. Okay, on to another news story. This one I find super exciting, but it was something that we always just assumed was the case. There is a new Virtua Fighter in development. This has been officially confirmed. Not in the clickbaity YouTube way of someone deducing that, well, it has to be real because of reasons, so that means confirmed. No, this is confirmed because we get an actual statement by Sega themselves saying, hey, we got all these revivals coming out that we announced already, and we have another Virtua Fighter being developed. That is just the line. Cool. Well, we knew that this was going to be the case when Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown released 2021, was it? For PlayStation 4. It was also called Virtua Fighter Esports in Japan, which I find funny. It was a Like a Dragon engine recreation of Virtua Fighter 5, which was a 2007, I believe, PS3 and Xbox 360 fighter. I enjoy Virtua Fighter 5, and I enjoyed that version of it specifically. And the big key metric for it was, it launched PlayStation 4. I don't know if it came to other platforms later. I imagine it's on Steam, right? But I don't know about Xbox. But when it launched, it was it had a special promotion where it was one of that month's PlayStation Plus games for the PlayStation we now know as PlayStation Essentials. But in addition to that, it was also going to be included for the next 3 months after. So there was a 3-month period for anyone that had PlayStation Plus could redeem it and own it. So the game was essentially free for anyone that was interested in it, really. Ultimately, the type of gamer that would be getting that game most likely is a PlayStation Plus subscriber. Fighting games, especially very specific fighting games of that vintage, are only known to the niche hardcore gaming type of person. They most likely have PlayStation Plus. So essentially, they were making that game for whatever Sony wanted to write in the check. You can look at it that way. So that seems like, I don't know if that's going to be worth it or not. Well, they put out a couple DLC packs for costumes, just cosmetics. They put out one pack, and then they put out they put out a couple since. I know there was a Tekken crossover stuff. But they put out this classic Virtua Fighter costume pack, Polygonal Kira and Sarah Bryant and all of them. Maybe not all of them. No, I think it was all. I don't know. I never used them. They wanted default costumes. I'm a weirdo like that. I actually am one of those people that wishes there was a toggle setting in Tekken that says only see default costumes on your online opponents. I don't want to see the wacky, crazy, stupid stuff. I want to feel like we're having a serious game here and not a joke. But anyway, they put out that $10 pack, and it sold a lot. It sold a lot. And they had a lot of downloads, too. They had an insane amount of downloads. I forget what the number is, and the way Japanese developers or just entertainment production companies celebrate milestones is in a weird way where, it's almost like, almost kind of like how they're like, well, 100 yen, but we're like, no, that's $1. They kind of looked at it like it that way as well. We would look like, oh my god, that's 1 million sales. Oh, great, that's that's 10,000 blank sales in a weird way. That was their number. It didn't make much sense to me, but I don't understand it. Haven't sought out to understand it. It generated a lot of downloads, and that DLC pack sold a lot. And so when we got to the fighting games kind of summit that happens in Japan once in a while, Sega was the one that hosted it, and they themselves specifically asked about free-to-play fighting games. Like, would that work? And you get all these companies that already make them, and you get, a Capcom that's like, well, we make a lot of money off of just selling a game and then selling the cosmetics. Street Fighter V at the time made a lot of money off of costumes, and the reason why that game was able to keep development at all was because of the costume sales. This was on top of being a game people bought. But then you look at like SNK, which is more open to different ideas because they're at that point were trying anything. King of Fighters 15 was on the horizon but wasn't out yet, and people remember King of Fighters 14, But Samurai Showdown, brought them around. But then you look at Bandai Namco, and you see a company that tried free-to-play twice at the worst possible time and in a way that seemed like a bad idea. Tekken Revolution and Soul Calibur Destiny Swords, Fated Swords, Duel of Swords, I forget what it was called. They were free-to-play fighting games, but they were conversions of previous entries. Tekken Revolution was based off of Tag 2, and Soul Calibur 5 was the basis for whatever the free-to-play Soul Calibur thing was called. I forgot. I think we got the platinum in this game, by the way. I'm just going to keep playing it. Whatever, it's mindless in a way that's easy. Easy for me to play while talking about. So these weren't new games. They felt like, okay, this is a free-to-play version of a game I already own, probably, if I even am aware of this. And it's got this thing where it's basically quarter-based. Like, it's arcade token-based. In order to play, cool, you need a token. You can get to a free amount of tokens each day, or you can buy them, and that doesn't seem as interesting to people these days as it might have been in the arcade market, where you couldn't play games that were that flashy graphically and cool unless you were in the arcades, where it was expected that you have to put in, however much money to play it that once time, right? Anyone could just buy a copy of Tekken 6 or Soul Calibur 4 if they wanted a cheap version of those fighting games, and then they're not being nickeled and dimed. As we all know nowadays, the primary way free-to-play works is irresistible FOMO of things you're probably never going to see again, but you will. But you don't feel like you will, so you better get this Fortnite battle costume, and you gotta get this dance for this multiverses guy, and oh my god, the Pokemon TCG Pocket Pack expansion might go away one day. We haven't really told you, I don't know if they did, blah blah blah. You better pay up. But the idea of being able to interact with the game at all for a fee that is recurring doesn't sit as well to people like, no, I can play the game for free, but like there's cool stuff I could get if I gave them money. Anyway, during that summit, I got the impression that Namco Bandai was like, well, we tried that already and it didn't work. And, to be fair, Tekken 8 it has not been the best-selling Tekken yet. Tekken 7 is, but that took it a long time to reach the large milestone ahead. But Tekken 8 sold very, very well for being a game only on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S and X, and obviously Steam. Meaning, unlike Street Fighter 6, it is not on previous consoles. Unlike Mortal Kombat 1, it is not on previous consoles. Oh, why would I want this view? I guess to show off their graphics? I love when my monster truck tires don't spin. Frogger is an okay concept for a video game that I can see expanded on. I know there was that Crossy Roads mobile thing. That developer made a Pac-Man game. Pac-Man, as we all know, is made by Namco, which segues us back in. I don't see free-to-play fighting games existing that much, but it can take a revival of something that has been long dead to create a new standard, if that makes sense, because the expectations aren't really there. I know Multiverses, like, I think as of, like, yesterday, was considered, like, a failure to Warner Brothers, which is sad. But that was a game where it was like, yeah, we wanna make a free-to-play Smash Brothers game based off a myriad of Warner Brothers properties, but we don't have the pipeline to support Fortnite levels of content drops for this fighting game. And they also like killed hype by taking it away for a while and coming back with a game that was slower, with a game that seemingly looked the same. Like, what did they spend that time on besides making it slower? They basically Street Fighter 5'd a game that was in early access at the time, if that makes sense. For folks that know, they know. So that game was a free-to-play fighting game, or is. That was considered a failure. Rumbleverses. Rumbleverse? What was that? What was that called? Rumbleverse? Rest in peace. That game got completely removed. That was fighting adjacent. It was more of like a wrestling, platforming thing, battle royale thing, but still, fighting game players accept it as a fighting game, which I guess is what matters then. But I can see Virtua Fighter coming back. They have to make changes, though, to make it more exciting for people. Back in the day, Virtua Fighter was the 3D fighting game, and it traded like the hyper suspenseful, you know, throwing fireballs and super high jumps. Well, kind of had high jumps then, anyway. But like the cartoony, you know, caricatures of martial arts to make real martial arts happen on screen. These were 3D character models doing stuff. They were throwing real punches, real kicks. They were doing actual martial arts. So you had these very realistically designed characters and how they move being very realistically designed to. This is this fighting style. No one is throwing an electric wind god fist in Virtua Fighter, right? No one is doing any of the crazy moves in Tekken where you basically break your hips if you were to try to do that in real life. Real fighting. And due to that, I think adherence to real fighting, you don't really have that many characters in Virtua Fighter. Virtua Fighter 5, I think, has the most. And even then, like, I don't know, it feels like there's less than 20. I don't know. I haven't looked at the roster in a while. I feel like there's less than 20. For a free-to-play fighting game, I think you start with that amount of characters, to be honest. And I think you build on that, and I think you make them all free. I don't think you charge for fighting game characters. But I think you probably have to make it a little bit flashier. I would change up the art style. I would make it some sort of, not Fortnite-esque, because that is such a bad stigma to it now. Make it seem a bit more like Jet Set Radio, or like the cool paint effects that Street Fighter 6 has, but as like the overall shader like aesthetic. Like the entire game should look not quite cel shaded, but looks like it's being accentuated with a cel shaded style. And I would, if I were in charge, probably lean more into having a bit more fun with the character movements and fighting styles, because I personally don't see how a free-to-play version of Virtua Fighter, in the same fashion that it's always been, would seem exciting long-term to an audience that isn't like, oh shit, there's a new Virtua Fighter? Like, the people that already know, they're already interested. You know what I mean? You're trying to get more people beyond that. Sega wants, clearly, to make it to be a super game, as they've said before about, you know, their positions on certain franchises, and Virtua Fighter would be that. So who knows? They might not make it free to play at all. They might just say, no, you know what? No, we've seen Tekken, Street Fighter 6, and Mortal Kombat 1 sell big as games that you buy for $60 or $70, and there are plenty of costumes to buy. They make a lot of money off that way. We can do that too. I would argue they wouldn't be able to do it as much because, guess what? People loved Mortal Kombat 11. People were hyped at the changes Street Fighter 6 was doing. And Tekken 7 was like the best fighting game ever for a lot of people. And Tekken 8 just looks like the best fighting game ever ×2 for those same types of people. So there was hype already for those games. I don't necessarily see the same automatic hype for Virtua Fighter 6 or whatever they would call it. I wouldn't call it Virtua Fighter 6. Ironically, Virtua Fighter Esports would be a more appropriate name for what they might want to do, but I don't know, call it Virtua Fighter Forever or something like that. And this is the case, I feel like, for... This is a make or break for me specifically, and I would hope for a lot of people as well, but I gather as a lot of people as well. We get so many of these free-to-play games, these live service games, whether free-to-play, I guess, or paid, that want you to treat it like a hobby. They want you to stay invested in the game forever, to keep your attention on it for every single day, because then they get your wallets that way, right? And I'm tired of having games like that I need to check in every single day. I hate that. I really do. When Helldivers 2 came out earlier this year, not get the impression that I needed to do that. In fact, I haven't played that game in months. I don't feel bad. I feel like I can hop in at any time and just still have the same amount of fun without being like, man, I missed out on this and this and this. And yeah, there were moments within the Galactic War that I missed, but like, I wasn't missing content. I wasn't missing a unique skin. You know, that game had its own version of battle passes, but they don't go away. They're there forever. I could still go back and buy the ones I didn't buy. And so they're more like DLC unlock trees of new stuff, which is cool. What I want from, like, for me personally, if I'm going to get into a live service game or a games as a service, whatever acronym or title they want to call their specific flavor of it, whatever they want to call it, I want one that doesn't require me to be committed. Like, that is the way younger generations have gotten used to video games. Where like, yeah, my hobby is this game. I play Fortnite. I play Roblox. I play Minecraft. I play, I don't know, PUBG, Overwatch. I don't know. But for kids, for Gen Z, and especially now Gen Alpha, their approach to the video game landscape is a couple of these forever games. GTA Online, perfect example. These forever games that just are like, yep, this is what I play. And they're not interested in other things, and they don't need to be interested in other things. They're experiencing the video game landscape different than I did, but that doesn't mean I have to look down on them or anything like that. I don't like the idea of me being sucked into a single game like that forever, but it is certainly less taxing on someone to be like, yeah, the video game I play is this one game. I play it on my terms when I want. I have fun with my friends, and it's free. Because guess what? If I was 8 years old and there was a Fortnite type of thing, a game that is free, that gets these constant updates, that I can play on nearly any device I own, and to play with friends that are on different devices, I would be lying to you if I said I would not be all over that forever. So I get it. That's personally not how I like to play games, though. I like to buy games. I like having a collection of games. I like looking at games like an individual thing that some group of people made. And there's an evolution of the talent and the specific brand itself that goes on with that. I like looking at a shelf of games. I sort my games, my physical collection of games, I sort them in chronological order. I don't know anyone else that does that. I see all these weirdos sort them alphabetically, which leads them into weird situations where it's like, well, this game doesn't have a number anymore. So technically, like all the Assassin's Creed games, how are you going to sort them? Really, you're sorting them in release order anyway, even though like after 4 they stopped using numbers. You're still sorting them that way. So sort all your games chronologically. I think it makes it easier to look at the evolution of, you know, an era of video games, whether it be a console specifically or however you want to sort your stuff. I wish Steam's sorting features were better. I appreciate that what they have already is decent enough. It's better than what they had before. But like when I sort things chronologically on Steam, it's not quite to my liking. Because there's also like the store listing, and also like when did the listing for the game came out? When did the game actually come out? Like if it's an old game, I've seen some old games I have on Steam. They're like, yep, this game from the 80s released in 2022. No, it didn't. That's the store listing. Whatever. I like sorting my games, my physical games, in chronological order because I like seeing the evolution of a specific talent or studio of people or a specific brand. I like looking, being like, yep, these are the 4 Jack and Daxter games that are on PlayStation 2. Like, look at all the games that Square Enix had published on PlayStation 3. Like, you know, there's a lot of games people didn't want to like, but man, I appreciate a lot of them now. I like looking at them that way. That's how I approach video games. So, I'm okay with free-to-play stuff, but they cannot force me to feel like shit if it's not my hobby. Manufactured discontent. Fortnite is evil for that. Alright. Moving on, 2 more stories here before we wrap up for the evening. This one's another Take-Two news story. So Take-Two had this label that they used to publish smaller games from independent studios. Independent being a varying, sizable term because you had Obsidian, which is now owned by Microsoft. They were considered independent at the time when Take-Two's Private Division label published their game, The Outer Worlds, was it? It's The Outer Worlds and The Outer Wilds, and The Outer Wilds is the interesting game, and The Outer Worlds is the Fallout New Vegas game, which is interesting in a different way. Anyway, the Fallout New Vegas style space game, Outer Worlds, was one of such games. That was a very big game. But they also were the label that published the physical versions of Hades, beyond the Switch version, I believe. As well as publishing a few other games that I have. I believe Roll7's a game, Rollerdrome is one of them. And there was the Ali Ali World people. Maybe they're Roll7, I'm not sure. There was a few of these games, and it's very strange to hear the company say, like, oh yeah, no, all those games were successful. They made the money. They just didn't make a lot of money. So this whole thing isn't worth our time. Very strange to me. Yeah, I mean, I guess best of luck to the people whose studios got closed because of this. That happened earlier in the year, and Take-Two denied it, even though that was the case, and that they now confirm now, oh yeah, that was the case. Or at least that is the case. I guess they didn't act like they did it before. They just said it happened. Which they could defend by saying, well, we didn't say it happened right now. Even though that is, I guess, what they're kind of implying to people that don't know. It's sad. Because you get people coming out on Twitter being like, yeah, no, my game, I don't have a job now. You know what I mean? Whatever. Very, very sad and interesting, nonetheless, though, because I feel like there's prime space for a AA publisher again. AA in the sense that, like, this game doesn't need to cost that much money, but we're still gonna charge you like it does. You know what I mean? Like, I think, and I know this is anti-consumer of me to think this way, but I think it is good that Nintendo makes a lot of AA budgeted and scoped games and sells them for $60. I think it's healthy for their business. I think it's bad for, say, Ubisoft to come out with games at that large prices and then a month and a half later heavily discount them. I just recently bought that new Prince of Persia game that came out, the one that Metroidvania search action style game. I just bought it now off Amazon physical. The same order I bought Sonic Frontiers because it was under $20. And when that game came out for like $50 or $60, was it? I don't remember. Back in January, I was very interested in the game. It looked like Metroid Dread, which was very good. Oh my god, reviews are saying it's really good. Really, really fun. Cool. I would be an idiot to just pay full price for it because I know Ubisoft is going to make their games cheaper in a month and a half. And I waited longer than that. Oh well. So then when Ubisoft comes out and crying and being like, well, the game didn't sell that many copies, it's like, well, it's on you. It's on you for being like that. They do that shit with Assassin's Creed, their flagship. Assassin's Creed should be able to maintain a $6 price tag forever. Activision never had that problem with Call of Duty. And I think people generally appreciate the ideas of Assassin's Creed more than Call of Duty on a general, like, hardcore gamer basis. Command your value and keep it there. You don't have to go down to the bottom of the barrel just because your sales are slowing. Anyway, Take-Two wants that as well because I mean when you're the GTA 5 publisher. By the way, I think they announced 205 million copies of GTA 5 had been sold in the 11 years since it released. Another money grubbing move. This one by Nvidia. Nvidia has had and still does have this service called GeForce Now. It is a service that allows you to take, I think it's just for Steam games, specific Steam games that you own on your Steam account. Again, these are games you've already purchased. It allows you to stream those games to your device from much more powerful computers that Nvidia has on their servers. They have different tiers, or at least had different tiers based off, or at least branded after specific Nvidia graphics cards. Or you can get the 3080 tier, versus the standard tier. Or, oh, now we're on the 40s, 40 series cards are now part of this tier, that type of thing. Not interesting to me, personally. But it is a use case for some people. I did know someone who I played a lot of the video game Rust with, who had a Mac, and it wasn't a powerful Mac, it was an iMac. Speaking of Macs, I heard that new Mac Mini with their M4 chip, I know it starts at $600, which is cheap for an Apple computer. I hear it's a powerhouse. Like, it's a really, really powerful for what it is, and for that price. Like, I did not really have a Mac on my, wish list. I would put that on a wish list. I would get that Mac Mini. I would get that for $6. That's the base model. I know they go higher, and you get more storage, and I believe the larger one has a better version of the M4 chip, and it has an extra Thunderbolt 5 port on the back or something like that. Whatever. For double the price. There's 4 different tiers of it. Whatever. The base version, that $600 Mac Mini M4 Mac Mini, looks very appealing to me. I can see that being a machine that runs this stream, right? That is the type of computer you would get to be your streaming computer while you have your main rig play the video game. For considering how powerful it is. Anyway, what was I going to say? GeForce Now was a service where you could stream Steam games you own off their powerful machines to your devices. And from all the latency tests and quality tests that I have seen, it's pretty decent. I still don't think the general populace is exactly happy with the state of video game streaming. It is far different than streaming a movie off Netflix, which, by the way, is still a worse copy than a 4K Blu-ray that you could physically own still, right? Movie streaming still isn't as good as people think, but it's acceptable enough. Video games are a whole other matter. There's an input that needs to be streamed back and forth, and there's just too much variance than a single file that plays itself for you. File sizes are also much bigger. So, for what it's worth, GeForce Now seemed to be good enough for what it is, for those specific niche consumers that are like, yep, I'm buying a lot of Steam games, but I don't own a computer to play them on, or at least one that's good enough. Anyway, whether this be the case of them experience this $1 trillion company experiencing hey, this is not making any money, we're losing a lot of money on this, or it's a case of hey, our subscription rates have gone stagnant. We are not gaining new people. We don't really know what else we can offer people besides better cards that they can use on these, virtual rigs that they're streaming off of. I guess they're not virtual, but they're on a data center. That's what I would suspect, by the way, that it is the case of them, their new adoption rate for new subscribers slowing down, and so, okay, well, if we need to make more money than we did last year, how do we do it? We nickel and dime our biggest users. We take our biggest users, and we charge them a little bit more. So, GeForce Now... Oh, my guy just stopped moving. I guess we're just gonna watch this for a while we wrap up. I'm gonna set the controller down even. In the beginning of next year, they're going to be implementing a time cap to the service. So once you pass 100 hours of game time, they're gonna start charging you $6, maybe even $3, depending on your tier, to give yourself an extra 15 hours for that month. It's like data center, or it's like data caps for mobile phones, except this is about time. Now, 100 hours seems like a lot of time. This isn't a month. If you were to break it down, I spend 100 hours a month gaming. Now, they claim this only affects 6% of their users. Again, that is their most hardcore users, which they are specifically nickel and diming on, who will complain, but they'll pay. Again, this is the user who will complain, but will pay. I am that type of person with PlayStation. I'll complain at the price of a PlayStation 5 Pro, but when I got the money for it, I will buy it immediately. I don't have the money for it now. There's other things I need to spend money on, but like, as soon as I have $700 to spend, it's going on a PlayStation 5 Pro. I don't like that price. I don't think it's worth that price. I am spending that price. Oh, plus $80 because I need a disc drive. Ugh. But, yeah, so that sucks for them, those users. Now, if you subscribe now, they essentially delay this policy for another year for you. That's how they are somewhat grandfathering it in, but they're just pushing it back a year, which, I mean, I guess, you know, get an extra year in before you jump ship. I know for the PlayStation Plus, you know, some of that stuff has changed over the past, you know, few years. The pricing went up. My PlayStation Plus Premium renewed today. I actually gotten a text alert from my bank being like, hey, from my bank being like, hey, did you authorize a large charge from this thing? And I look, be like, I didn't buy enough PlayStation games to equal that amount of money, let alone all at once. And I'm like looking through, you know, my bank statements, being like, trying to add them all up in my head, being like, does this equal $180 or however much it was? $160? Does this equal that? I don't, but like, why would it happen all at once? Because I already paid. That's not what alerted. I'm like, oh no, I think this PlayStation Plus, and I had to look at my thing, and you know, the bank had denied it, so I had to then go and accept it, and technically I didn't renew. Technically, it failed to charge, so then it canceled, and then I started it up again, whatever. Anyway, you know, they've changed that pricing recently, and they've changed what the tiers are, and there was someone who, I think rather foolishly, recently did their best to buy as many PlayStation Plus premium subscriptions to stack on their thing as possible. I think they got like, what did they say, 20 years worth on there. I think that's foolish because you're just going to get that all refunded to you, or worse, like maybe even lose it, depending on how you bought it. If you bought things like physical vouchers at a retailer, or I don't know. Because at some point they're going to change the pricing on that, and you're going to lose what you thought was grandfathered in. So it's the same thing with this here. You know, like, yeah, okay, it's just 1 year that they're pushing it back, but like anyone that's like, cool, I hope I can keep at this price, like, no. The subscription services, every single subscription service, every single one of these, they start in as low as they think they can possibly go to get people in. Once you're comfortable, they're like, line needs to go up. Once a subscription service, his new adoption rate is starting to kind of level out, we got to make the line go up on our profits for our fiscal year, so we just charge more for the thing we already have, and more. And then we'll find edge cases that affect super users, and we'll nickel and dime that. And then, oh, if you're trying to cheap out and allow someone else in for free, we're going to nickel and dime that. They have these, you know, three-pronged approach to these subscription services now, and it sucks. I haven't subscribed to a movie streaming thing in a very long time. I like owning things, whether that be on a hard drive or on a disc. And it feels great to be like, oh yeah, check a folder. I have that movie. Just feels nice. I don't know. Than having to be like, man, did I get charged $8 for this and $25 for this, blah, blah, blah. So for me personally, seeing my PlayStation Plus thing stung a little because of how much it was, but like, that's cheaper a year I pay on entertainment subscriptions than a lot of people. I don't have the Nintendo Plus. I don't have the Nintendo Switch Online subscription anymore. I talked about this in the past because the N64 emulator sucks. Why would I play games like that when I can play them other ways? Many of those games I own physically, I can play them physically. Anyway, that is the news for the day. Thank you guys for stopping by. We need to rank Road Bustle 2. This is very mindless. I liked Deep Space Rush. I had fun with that. So I guess it cannot be number 1. Deep Space Rush still is number 1. So we'll say Road Bustle 2 is our new number 2. I gotta learn to see if there's a way in this program specifically and not a spreadsheet to just have that automatic numbering going on. I would like that. I gotta remake my stupid list. I don't know what happened, man. Gotta remake my list. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. Updates on the streams and content for the channel. Earlier today, as I mentioned, Devin and I streamed a continuation of our Pokemon Nuzlocke run. I'd like to do another one of those sooner than a month from that, but it's hard because it's a very busy time of the year. So trying to schedule that is difficult, so might not happen until December. Would also like to do the same with Shadow Generations. We got to finish that up. And that stream actually did very well for our metrics behind the scenes here, beyond just views. Like, pretty well. I'm really happy with that one. But disregarding that, tomorrow in the evening, I believe I have a placeholder time of 6 p.m. Eastern. It'll probably stay that way, though, unless something needs to change. I will be checking out a old PlayStation 1 game, JRPG, that's actually on that PlayStation Plus premium subscription. It's got trophies, that's why I'm doing it that way. Called Legend of Dragoon, The Legend of Dragoon. We'll play that for 3-4 hours, give it a look. I am predisposed to enjoy that type of video game, so I know I will like it, unless it's very weird, and in a way I wasn't expecting, I guess. I don't know. So that's tomorrow. And then Monday, another JRPG that we will be playing is Final Fantasy. The Pixel Remaster version of that is a part of my longer ongoing trophy hunting streams. So that stream will be at noon Eastern time, at least 4 hours, at most 8 hours. When we did our Metal Gear Solid stream last Sunday, that was 6 hours, and that felt pretty good. That game is still in the rotation. I got 3 games that are in the rotation for these longer form trophy hunting streams, series even. Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, and this other one, which will be next week. Unless I can't set the thing up I need to set it up for, in which case we will go back to Metal Gear Solid. And it's not a perfect loop. Things can move around. So yes, in addition to that, there will be, at the very least, one more group stream this month. It is on the 22nd, which is a Friday, late in the evening. David is going to be playing for us a PlayStation 1 classic. He has not seen what it looks like, but it's called Incredible Crisis. Devin has not seen what it looks like, but this is a part of my, I guess it's a series, but my attempt to introduce some of these more hidden gem, classic, and weird games to my friends here, and really appreciate some culture. We had that Mr. Mosquito stream earlier, and we did Ape Escape, which is not a hidden gem. That is got like multiple sequels, but still a forgotten franchise, unfortunately. And I played that Astrobot level where they just make you play Ape Escape. Team Asobi, I don't want you to make Astrobot 2. I want you to make an Ape Escape. Make Ape Escape. And then make Loco Roco fun. After I played and platinumed Astrobot, I re-downloaded Loco Roco remastered thing. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Too slow. And then it's like, you gotta collect everything. I didn't like that. I didn't like that game. But I love that idea, and I love that level in Astrobot as well. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. Those are the streams. In the future, there will be another Stinky Platinum stream next Saturday. So if you're a returning member for that, please like, subscribe, share, and all that jazz. And I will see you next time. I should get a slogan to end, or like some sort of outro slogan for this. Stinky Platinum. There we go.